low, 2000, baby. Eden Palms, Monterey Road, I'm a project, baby. Eagles Drive, we was at Oak Grove, barely graduated. We got Tasha, Molly, Bodie, Corbett, they gon' have to hate us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the New Media Podcast. I'm your host, Sia. We hope you enjoyed the last episode because, as always, today's going to be an even better episode. I got the whole crew with me. Everybody's in the house today, and it's finally time. It's time that we start talking about hoops. It's time that we start talking about the NBA. And today, our topics will be biggest disappointments and surprises so far this season. We're going to be giving a little bit of a recap of these last couple of weeks, Harden's injury, Kyrie's suspension, the Nets firing Steve Nash, the Golden State Warriors struggles, Russell Westbrook being benched, Kawhi's load management, and of course, I do want to talk about a few teams that have made some blockbuster trades, and we're going to talk about where they're at and where they're headed for the rest of the season. But of course, before we jump into today's topics, temperature check. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling?
Feeling good, man. First dedicated episode to the NBA. Let's get it.
Lakers make me sad, man. They make me very sad, but let's continue.
Let's go ahead and jump into the biggest disappointments so far in the NBA season.
For me, it has to be the Golden State Warriors. I feel like right now the Warriors are kind of in an awkward position where, like, it's hard to prioritize developing your young talents while also competing at like a very high level, right? Because last year they had veterans like Otto Porter Jr., Bielitsa, Gary, what's his name? That's in Portland now.
Gary Payne Jr.
Yeah, him as well. Like, I feel like the core was just made up a lot of veterans, and now introducing this year, you have guys like Kuminga, Wiseman, Moody, and I feel like it's tough to prioritize developing them while also trying to compete at a high level because Jordan Poole had the luxury of the G League and that COVID year as well while they're struggling for him to develop. But when it comes to Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody, like, I feel like it's tough for them to get minutes and for the Warriors to compete. So they're just kind of in an awkward position. And at the same time, like, Wiseman looks terrible. Like he's one of the worst players in the league. That's a crazy statement, but he's literally one of the worst starting players in the NBA. Whenever he starts and he gets minutes, he looks terrible. And whenever he comes off the bench, he looks terrible. And I also feel like Steve Kerr just doesn't give Kuminga a chance because last game we saw when he got a chance, he looked good. So it's tough. I feel like the Warriors are in an awkward position. So
I don't know. I wouldn't say the Warriors would be the biggest disappointment. I feel like it's an overreach to say the Warriors, the team that just won the finals, to be a big disappointment right now. I don't know about that.
I don't know if it's
like
overreach.
I feel like right now the young players, they got to adjust. They got to get used to it. They're stepping into bigger roles. Let Steve Kerr figure it out. I feel like it's too early for them to say it's a big disappointment.
I mean, like,
so
the Warriors,
far, it is kind of a disappointment.
The thing
they just
is,
went
though,
on a
like,
5-game road trip and they went 0-5.
5-game road trip is tough. They lost
But-
all the games on that road trip, but at the same time, it's like 8 games into the season. I don't know. I feel like
you guys know the Warriors, like, they coast the regular season. Yes, that's one true statement. But at the same time, the Warriors defense has never looked this bad in the last like 5 years. Like, counting outside the years that they're in the COVID and the Steph Curry year, 2021, like, they've never struggled like this defensively, and it's looking scary. They've never been this bad on that end. So, I mean, they need to fix this issue ASAP.
They legit let teams. The opponents average the most points per game when they play the Warriors at 121 points per game.
That's crazy.
So, like, that's crazy and uncommon for the Golden State Warriors. That's kind of with Draymond Green. He prides himself on defense, but I just feel like he's not bringing it every night. And people are saying it's simply because he has to earn the trust of his teammates back, and simply what happened in the offseason between him and Jordan Poole. But at the same time, man, Steve Kerr, these rotations and these new pieces that are supposed to be added into the mix, it's just not gelling so well. So, I mean, the Warriors are definitely struggling. Like I said, going on a road trip and going 0-5. I mean, they didn't get blown out once. Every game came down to the wire. A couple plays could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, you got to be solid on the defensive end. And I don't think Draymond Green, the guy who's leading that end of the court, is doing a good enough job, I would say, getting his guys in the right spots and making sure guys are in the right rotations. But the 5-game road trip is officially over. They'll be heading home. Well, they're already home now. They have a game, I believe, tomorrow on Monday against Sacramento Kings. So the Kings, they're no slouch now. I mean, of course, they're one of the worst teams in the league, but they're one of the few teams that are going to bring it every night. So can't look at the schedule and say it's going to be an easy one. But
I feel like that applies now to all the, like, barring maybe the Rockets. Like I feel like every single one of those teams that we think is bad, it's just gonna come with it. The Magic, OKC, the Utah Jazz, of course, who we'll get to in a bit.
Utah's on the heater.
Yeah, a lot of these teams that we think are just bad, like they compete, especially the Sacramento Kings. So, like we can't underrate any of these teams when they play against the contenders. So,
that's true. The biggest disappointment for me, man, I feel like it's the Wolves, man. I mean, you hyped them up pretty heavily, saying that they're gonna be, it's gonna be a fantastic team. But Gobert, I don't know, man. You give that many players, that many trade picks for him, and it's just not working for him. We got him shooting threes now. Like
I feel like the biggest issue is D'Lo, in my opinion. I think D'Lo is.
But we know D'Lo's not their go-to guy. You got Cat as your go-to guy, and you pair him with Gobert, and there's still no space in both centers at the three-point line. It doesn't make sense to me. It really don't. And Ants, he can't drive into the paint sometimes because it's clustered. So his game is just like.
I mean, D'Lo thinks he's that guy. I guarantee you, he thinks he's that guy.
I wouldn't want to blame D'Lo, man. Come on now, we know D'Lo's trash.
You guys know D'Lo's getting paid $32 million a year, right? Like he's getting paid a lot.
I did forget about that.
He's getting paid a lot.
He's getting paid a lot. Look, 5 picks and 4 players for Rudy Gobert to give you 9 points and 11 rebounds a game. Ain't still well.
Rudy Gobert shooting threes now, man.
That's not sitting well.
Yeah, I saw that clip.
I didn't see shooting threes. Like biggest disappointment for me, man. I think the Timberwolves this rate they might crash out of the playoffs. I don't know if they're gonna make it, but I don't know what the Gobert issue.
That's fair.
It's easy to go ahead and say the Lakers are the biggest disappointment or the Brooklyn Nets are the biggest disappointment. But for me, a team that I'm going with as the biggest disappointment, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Clippers, simply because like Kawhi Leonard's injury, which we'll get to in a little bit, it's a bit concerning and a lot of question marks there as to whether or not he's fully recovered. Because at the end of the day, it's a torn ACL. Like guys come back a lot better from torn ACLs now, but this team they've kind of struggled a little bit. They sit at 5-4 right now, but I didn't expect them to start like this. And of course, Paul George, he missed a couple of games, but at the same time, these guys, watching them, they went on a 4-game losing streak these last couple of weeks where they lost to Phoenix, Oklahoma City twice, and the New Orleans Pelicans. So it's just a mixture of those Reggie Jackson not playing well.
I hate that guy's play style, man. This is a crazy shot chucker. He's a Kobe shot selection.
It's worse than Kobe shot. He thinks he's Kobe. Like Kobe can make some of those shots, This guy, he doesn't make any of it, and he still shoots and attempts it, man. So yeah, Clippers. I don't know, man. Speaking about the Kawhi issue, is crazy. 6 games, 7 games in a row. I feel like there's a bigger issue with his knee. I don't know if they're hiding it or something, but it's looking bad.
Are they being like extra careful? Like
he's been out for almost a year and a half?
Yeah, a little a year. I would say a little over a year, right? Yeah. Year and some change, and he can't. Of course, he's not going to come out in this season starting off the year playing back-to-backs, but we at least expect him to play the first half of a back-to-back.
He did look good in that Laker cameo, though. I will say that. He looked good. He looked good.
A little 15-minute cameo to start of the season, but
he looked good.
I don't know, man. He played 2 games this shit so far, 30 minutes in total. It's tough.
Something like that.
I haven't seen much from him, but the Clippers sitting here at 5-4. I didn't expect them to start off the season like this. But another team that would be a close runner-up, Denver Nuggets. And Nikola Jokic being specifically Nikola Jokic. He hasn't looked like an MVP type player.
Saying that 5-3 is a disappointment, though?
Well,
I think it's more about the Jokic, play, though.
But we're saying but as a team play, we can't blame Jokic's play on the team play. We're saying
he's a big part of the team, though.
But they're 5-3. 5-3 is a positive record. If they were in a losing record right now, I don't know. It'd be a different story.
Like we had, a lot of people had the Denver Nuggets being the number 1 seed, right? So of course, it's just the way that they've been playing. I just don't feel like they've been particularly great.
They're one game out the 1 seed, though. They're 1 game out the 1 seed.
But record aside,
I get what you guys are saying, though. Jokic. His previous
he hasn't been an MVP level.
It's not the same, especially with the scoring wise. I noticed it. He's not scoring the ball as much as he used to, and maybe it's the reason Jamal Murray and MPJ's back, but I don't know.
Yeah, just record aside, their style of play hasn't looked good in these 8 games. They're sitting here at 5-3 playing right now against the San Antonio Spurs. They're pretty big, but I feel like this team could be a lot better. And of course, they have a guy that's coming up for torn ACL as well, Jamal Murray, and he's still getting his minutes up and trying to work his way back into game shape. But of course, we can definitely call this an early season overreaction. A couple of weeks into the season, but I feel like this team should be a lot better alongside the Los Angeles Clippers. So we'll go ahead and move on to biggest surprise so far this season.
I mean, we have to have the same answer. Like you guys, if you have a different answer, you're crazy. The Utah Jazz, the
Sitting at 7-3, bro. They're hooping right now.
Bro, these guys just play good basketball. I don't know how to explain it, but they just play good basketball. They have just a bunch of role players and one guy in Lauri Markkanen that's playing like an all-star, and they've just been hooping. Like, I feel like every single person gets a touch on the ball. They have Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Michael Beasley, Vanderbilt, Mike Conley, just a
Even
bunch
guys
of
like
guys.
THT, like guys like THT.
There's just a bunch of guys that contribute. Like,
Mhm.
they're going to pour it Nikhil Alexander-Walker. They have a lot of guys that contribute. They play good team basketball. And I feel like the Utah Jazz are they're nice, man. It's easy to call it a fluke, but they're beating legitimate teams. They look good as well. They're doing it. So
and it's good basketball too.
yeah,
For me, their 3-point shooting is fantastic.
crazy.
They got some shooters on that team, especially when they play Markkanen at the 5 and they have Olynyk on the floor. They stretch.
Oh,
the
I
floor
forgot about
a lot.
Olynyk too, man.
Yeah, it's like you have Sexton and what's his face, Clarkson, both great ISO players. They can get to the rack, but once you surround them with a bunch of shooters like that, it's tough to guard them one-on-one. So they're playing good basketball. Biggest surprise, definitely. I feel like we all had Utah being at the bottom of the West
The
End.
bottom of the barrel.
The bottom of the barrel, way Bamba talk. But they're over here sitting at 7-3, top 3 seed. So yeah, biggest surprise for me.
I just feel like Utah is definitely a team that they're playing with nothing to lose. Of course, people were expecting them to come into this year, just to tank basically with all the draft picks they got back for Rudy Gobert and for Donovan Mitchell, all the assets they got. They're basically playing for nothing. And I feel like when you're a team that's playing with nothing to lose, every night you're going to be a deadly team because if you lose, you're supposed to lose, right? But if you win, it boosts up the morale and the confidence of the players and their head coach. I don't know who's coaching them right now.
I couldn't even tell you.
Exactly.
I couldn't even tell you.
Like, I don't know who their head coach is, but I think Danny Ainge has done a hell of a job bringing in a group of guys that just want to play basketball and not worry about anything else. And that's not taking no shots at the guys they had in previous years, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. It just didn't work out for them. And those guys had a lot of pressure on them to deliver and at least be successful, have a successful run in the playoffs. And, of course, they didn't amount to that. But this Utah Jazz team right now sitting at 7-3, nobody expected this. And how long will this go on for? We don't know. But at the end of the day, each and every night, they're going to bring it, and we can no longer count out the Utah Jazz moving on. But Big H, go ahead.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
Oh, you guys both had Utah?
Yeah, we both had Utah.
Okay. I think for me, I gotta go the Cleveland Cavaliers sitting at 7-1 right now. And of course, like we all had this team being a good team with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, but Darius Garland missed a couple of games, like a handful of games start off the year due to an eye injury, and Donovan Mitchell has stepped in and carried that team alongside Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and Karis LeVert even had like a 40 piece against the Celtics. So this team, to be sitting at 7-1, I was watching them the other night when Darius Garland came back. Those two, man, we were questioning how they're fit and what they were.
They look incredible.
You were questioning.
I was definitely questioning them.
I wasn't. I trusted this team, especially with the pieces around Mitchell and Garland. Like those guys are some solid pieces around them, especially defensively. They help him big time. So to see Mitchell, he was gonna cook regardless, and he fits right perfectly into the system. Perfectly.
I feel like even defensively, he's been locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys just look amazing right now, and they played a very, very good team in Boston Celtics, and they were able to come away with that win in overtime. But this team right now sitting here at 7-1, and I was questioning their fit and how they were gonna mesh. They did beat them twice.
Don't forget LeVert, the game before that.
LeVert's 40 piece, and then when Darius Garland returned, this team, man. I'm not too sure where you guys had him in your guys' rankings. I think I had him
at like 6. I think
I had somewhere around like 6, 7.
I think you got to double check. I either had him at 5 or 4. I'm not too sure.
I think this team can definitely finish at least like top 4 with the way the East is looking right now.
They're finishing top 3, I think.
Yeah, they definitely can.
If they can stay healthy, I think they finish top 3.
Top 3 in the East. We have
I
the
mean,
Bucks,
you have the Bucks.
Celtics, and everybody else.
I mean, you could argue that they might even pass the Celtics at this
They
rate.
already took 2 from them, so at this
Well, you
point,
have
right
to see.
now,
Okay, we'll go. We'll call that. We'll look. We'll circle back on that a couple weeks from now. But let's go ahead and get into the James Harden injury. I believe he's dealing with the foot injury. He's going to be out. What's the timetable on that?
I think a month.
Stan? 1 month.
Yeah, a month.
And the Sixers right now are sitting. They're sitting at 4-6, 10th seed in the East. Now losing their star guy in James Harden.
That's a tough injury to pick up.
top of losing Embiid too.
And Embiid's been out for a couple games or so, and so he's been dealing with some injuries. And Maxi's like this team right now. If they don't like get rid of Doc Rivers, it's literally gonna be a disaster, like an absolute disaster. They cannot continue with Doc Rivers as his head coach. I was watching the game against the Knicks, and I was literally shocked at what this guy was doing. He had George Niang, 6'7", small forward, as his rim protector. I don't know what Paul Reed did to Doc Rivers for him to hate him, but he does not play him. He has Matisse Thybulle as well. He doesn't utilize him as well. 2 guys that come off the bench, get a bunch of deflections, bring a lot of energy to the team. It's just like, if I'm a Sixers fan, like, I'm scared right now with James Harden being out and Doc Rivers still as my head coach and then be dealing with some injuries here and there. The Sixers, it's going to be a bad position if they don't get rid of Doc Rivers. And this is Daryl Morey. It's all on Daryl Morey. Like, he has to just take initiative and be like, this team, I'm trying to build it towards a championship. And if I don't get rid of this guy as my head coach, then we're literally going to just go nowhere. So that's just my thoughts on that injury.
I agree big time with the Harden injury, especially with the Embiid being out right now. It's going to be a tough slate the next couple of weeks for them. Tough slate. I know Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
He's going to pick up a lot of the slate. He's going to hoop. But guys like Tobias Harrison, I don't think they're going to step up.
But Tobias Harris gets paid all that money as a 4th option to do nothing. Now he's a 2nd option.
And he's still not going to do nothing as a 2nd option. So, and we know Doc Rivers, man. He's still living off the 2008 finals. You know, that's the only thing he has right now. He's been a horrible coach the last 7 years. So it's going to be tough for Philadelphia. I expected a lot more for them, but injuries and head coaching, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. But I want to hear what y'all's perspective on this is.
I mean, I think you guys are overreacting a tad bit. Of course, Doc Rivers, he's a huge problem for the Philadelphia 76ers. But, of course, I highlighted that in the offseason. But I feel like this team, now a couple other guys have to step up. Tyrese Maxey, now that James Harden's been out, he's had a couple crazy games where I think he dropped 44 against the Raptors.
Yeah.
40, and then he had like a 30-piece the night before. Looking at the numbers, I mean, 28, 32, 31, 44 against the Raptors, like I said. Other guys have to step up, and now other guys are going to have to get more comfortable in an offense without James Harden. So what can this offense look like? Joel Embiid, once he comes back, he's only dealing with the illness injury. So once he gets over that, he'll be back into the fold.
I mean, like, I feel like Embiid, if he goes back to that MVP level player that he was a season ago, then, I mean, I think that they can survive. But with Doc Rivers as a head coach, you never know.
Yeah, Embiid got to go back to that level to carry them right now. Especially,
I honestly think he will when he comes back. Because I mean, the ball's going to go to him or it's going to go to Maxey. And Maxey stepping into this bigger role. And, you know, like, this is something we saw from like Jordan Poole when Klay Thompson was out last year, but like at a way higher level. He has more responsibilities, more things that he has to take care of for this team. He has to run the show. He's done a great job at it. And he's going to slot right back in and play at his MVP level. So I don't necessarily have any doubts about this team right now in the regular season. In the playoffs, of course, when you have Doc Rivers as your head coach and you have James Harden there, with it's a recipe for disaster. So Philadelphia 76ers right now sitting at 4-6. Losing Harden for a month, I think they'll be all right. But we have to talk about this guy, man. Kyrie Irving got suspended this past week for 5 games for his comments. Not necessarily comments, but I think he posted something like a documentary about that was involving a lot of anti-Semitism. He suspended 5 games and they gave him some action items that he has to complete in order for him to come back. So let me read this off for you guys. He has to apologize for the documentary that he posted on his social media, a $500K donation to anti-hate causes, sensitivity training, anti-Semitic training, meet with ADL and Jewish leaders, and meet with the owner, Joe Tsai, to demonstrate an understanding. This is ridiculous in my opinion.
The NBA is just drama right now. It's not even basketball no more. It's a
I get the
reality TV show.
I get the suspension, but all this other extra stuff. I
Bro,
felt
the NBA right now is literally a reality TV show. I don't know what I'm watching. Like I feel like, but of course, like we know that Kyrie Irving was going to be at the center of something coming into the season. Like I had no doubts about that, right? That's literally there's a reason why I feel like this last summer teams weren't outside of the Lakers, of course, because they're desperate for Kyrie. That no other team was really that wanted to trade for Kyrie, you know, and it's because of the distractions that he brings to a team, and whether he's right or wrong, like you feel just Kyrie Irving is going to bring a lot of attention towards a team, and it's going to be unwanted attention. But at the same time, I feel like the NBA is just overdoing it with this. Like I feel like they don't give this type of like energy towards other issues, right? And it just feels like Kyrie. It feels like the Nets have it out for Kyrie Irving, and part of that maybe because of what happened in 2022 when he sat out a part of the season, a lot of games actually, home games, regarding the whole vaccine issue, and I feel like they're getting back at him for that. And there's just this team is just on the verge of implosion, and I know they won the last two games in because of KD's efforts, but to me, this team is literally on the brink of just exploding, and it's only a matter of time. So.
yeah, I believe they're gonna trade Kyrie real soon. I don't think they're gonna want him on the
And the
team.
things of who wants Kyrie?
But
Like
nobody's gonna want Kyrie at this point, you know? Who's gonna want to deal
outside
with
the Lakers, like
Yeah,
who wants Kyrie?
man, I don't know, but I feel like the Nets
That's a lot of baggage, man.
they fined him $500K, right? And then they suspended him 5 games without pay. I don't know. I feel like they got it out for him, and these 6, 7 extra stuff that they want him to do, posting an apology, then posting on Instagram, and all that extra stuff. I feel like that's a little extra. So at this point, their relationship is probably like
No, their relationship is
it's
like to
dead.
me, like I
Yeah,
think it's done.
it's
Like I
Yeah,
done.
think
it's
the
pretty.
Nets are
It
done
was
with
pretty
them.
much over in the off season, but now it's like
Now it's like
whatever was left from that relationship, it's completely gone now.
they feel like they just suspended him this 5 games to come up with a better plan to find a solution to either replace him or put him on the bench for the rest of the season. So we'll
My
see what happens.
my issue was like you can't come into a season, right, after your two stars wanted out, right? Your two stars wanted out. Like legit, they requested a trade to get out of here. You're coming into a season with both of those stars that have been wanted to get out of the team. And on top of that, you have a lot of guys coming back from injury. How is a team like that supposed to be functioning, right? You have Ben Simmons coming back, and we don't know we already knew what kind of player he was, but like these first 2 weeks have like really solidified it. Then we also saw that Seth Curry is injured. Joe Harris was coming back from injury. TJ Warren is still injured. And it just feels like there's a lot of things at issue. Like there's no structure in the Nets organization whatsoever. It's just like it's a circus, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like a whole circus. We don't know what's going on in that organization. Of course, and I feel like it's been when you try to put too many stars together at once. Like you had the issue with James Harden wanting out Liddy in midseason, of course, and we talked about that before. But he wanted out, not wanting to play with Kyrie Irving and KD, and just wanting to go to Sixers, right? Then you also had this offseason with them. Before that, they got swept, of course, and then wanting out. So I feel like there's just like a lot of stuff going on with this organization. There's no structure. I don't know. The Nets are like, I feel like they're so close to just imploding. They're so close to it. Maybe KD gets traded in January. Who knows? But
I don't see KD leaving.
I think he is as good as gone when opportunity comes. And I think it'll be. I think this might be his last year in Brooklyn, simply because Kyrie Irving. The reason why nobody will ever call for him and try to make a trade for him is simply because his contract's up this summer. He's a free agent, so he can walk wherever he wants to. So So teams are thinking, why would I trade for a guy that's going to be a free agent and will not re-sign with the team he's on right now? Like it's like a 0% chance he comes back to Brooklyn. So there's that. And then Kevin Durant, rumors just came out today saying that teams are going to start making package offers and start calling the Brooklyn Nets to see where their head is at with Kevin Durant as to what direction are they going to go in as a franchise, because with the whole Kyrie situation right now and like the way the team's going, Kevin Durant, he's definitely going to be on the table. And like the Nets, they had all the leverage in the offseason because Kevin Durant signed that extension to stay there for a lot longer, for I think about 4 more years. But now, if you like, what good does it for you? How good is it for you if you're going to keep a guy like Kevin Durant on your team and surround him with a bunch of nobodies. Like right now, he's running with guys like Royce O'Neal and a bunch of other scrubs on his roster right now, and he's doing the best he can. Ben Simmons hasn't even been playing. We'll get to him in a little bit, of course. So you might as well just rebuild and try to, build a new team and move on from these two guys. These two guys came to your franchise and try to put your franchise back on the map. New York's always been in Knicks City, but the Nets, of course, being there, those two guys had the opportunity to go to the New York Knicks, but they didn't. They chose to go to the Brooklyn Nets and try to win a championship over there. But I think the goal and the mission, they failed the mission pretty bad. So Kevin Durant, I think he'll move on from this, but this is just a bunch of extra stuff going on with this whole Kyrie situation. I mean, forcing him to apologize, that's one thing. And Kyrie, he put himself in the situation, so I can't necessarily say I feel bad for him. But at the same time, I'm a bit worried that he might just get blackballed out of the NBA simply because of these comments. We've seen this happen, of course, with a guy like Myers Leonard, who says the same. He said something about the Jewish people on a stream, and now he hasn't been in the NBA ever since. And of course, we all know how talented Kyrie is, but at the same time, the baggage he brings to your franchise, are you willing to pick up that baggage and move on with it? I don't think a lot of teams definitely scratching their heads and questioning whether or not they should do it this offseason, but giving out these 6 action items, like, what are you trying to gain out of this? Like, if you're trying to make an example out of Kyrie, then you're asking for the show, because Kyrie's not a guy that's gonna like just sit back and take all of this. Of course, he's gonna speak his mind and speak his truth. That's what he's been saying this in past week. But at the same time, like, as a franchise, you're supposed to have your guys, but one of your star players back. And I understand, like, of course, Kyrie, he put himself in the situation, but at the same time, you're picking a side, and you can pick a side, but at the same time, like, don't kick Kyrie out of the door and bash him with the rest of the crowd, because everybody in the media is talking about him badly, and you're just adding on to it. You're not making it any better for him. So, of course, as I said, the relationship is definitely as good as dead. And the Nets, man, they're sitting right now with a record of, what's their record right now?
Probably 4 wins, I want to say.
They just won today.
Yeah, they're sitting at a record of 4-6. Kevin Durant doing all he can, reeling back-to-back wins against the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, the Nets, they had to figure this thing out, but that isn't even like the only thing that happened these last couple of weeks for the Brooklyn Nets. They fired their head coach, Steve Nash. Steve Nash, well, quote unquote, they mutually parted ways, but we all know that he got fired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets right after the Indiana Pacers game. And he simply told Sean Marks that he couldn't get through to these guys. I mean, now they're looking towards bringing in a guy like Ime Udoka, who's suspended by the Celtics and not the NBA, which I just recently found out. And they're in talks right now to bring him in as their new head coach. I think that could be a pretty good signing for them, to be honest.
Yeah, like, of course, I feel like a guy like Ime brings structure to a team, but like Steve Nash didn't lie. Like, it's tough to get to these guys, and like I feel like Ime has his hands full with this team that he's walking into. Like, he has no idea what he's about.
I feel like those guys didn't respect Steve Nash.
They didn't respect Steve Nash. Like, I agree, but I feel like this team, like, he's walking into it, like he's just not ready for it. There's just so much at play, and like, it's just putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound. Like, there's just too much going on in this franchise just to insert a head coach. Like, you have your whole owner of your team legit beefing with a player. Like, it doesn't get worse. It doesn't get worse than that. Like, there's legit tensions between the two. It doesn't get worse than that. And I feel like just hiring a head coach might be better for games, but like, we have to see. I just don't buy it. Like, I don't see this remedying the whole situation with the
one thing I'll say about Ime, though, I feel like he'll help this team defensively a lot. He'll help this team. I feel like he'll kind of help Ben Simmons get a little bit better than what we've seen from the first 5-6 games that he played. But like Abdi said, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a big wound. It's not going to really help much in the long run, and especially with the Kyrie situation, it's definitely going to be tough on Ime. So we'll see.
I'm just kind of curious as how long this Kyrie situation will drag out, because
they said at least 5 games, all right?
They said a minimum of 5 games.
Minimum.
But now they
until he achieves those things, right?
Yeah, they said 5 games to start off, and then today they came out with the action items that he has to complete before he comes back. So I wonder what Kyrie's thinking. Is he going to do all these things and try to get back to on the court as soon as possible? Because we all know Kyrie, like, of course, he's a very talented basketball player, but he said it multiple times. This is not his life. It's just his job. Like, there's a life outside of basketball. Like, he didn't want to get vaccinated, and he knew it was
We've
hurting
seen
his
him
team
sit out he was ready to sit out a whole season over a vaccine. Like,
over a vaccine, and now they're telling him to do things and to stand on something that of course, he came out and said that he's not anti-Semitic, but at the same time, like he was pushing out a documentary that was basically displaying that. So I mean, this thing can drag out for more than just 5 games. But with Ime Udoka, and if they officially bring him in sometime next week, I mean, I think it's not necessarily putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound, simply because eventually you'll get all their guys. They'll get all their guys back. Ben Simmons will come back healthy, and Kyrie Irving eventually will come back on the court. I mean, I don't think the Nets plan on suspending him indefinitely as of right now. But he's going to be the voice in that locker room, because Steve Nash said it to Sean Marks. He couldn't get through to these guys, and if there's one guy that can get through to his players, it's Ime Udoka, because we saw that with that Boston Celtics team last year. Guys in the beginning of the season, they were below 500 up all the way up until January. And in January, that's where they kind of reeled off a lot of wins and turned their season around and made the NBA Finals. Ime can get to these guys, and he can get these guys. Can get these guys to buy in to what he's selling. But at the same time, what's the point of bringing in a guy like Ime when you know Kyrie's out of the door next year? And then potentially you're going to have to end up trading a guy like Kevin Durant. So maybe it can work out for just this 1 year, but Kyrie is not looking to come back. We can confidently say that now. And Kevin Durant is as good as gone when a trade package comes in that the Nets like, because now the Nets have no leverage, like I said. So I guess rebuilding a team around Ime for the future, I guess you could work around that, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But we'll go ahead and move on to the Los Angeles Lakers. Darwin Ham made the executive decision to bench Russell Westbrook after that Denver Nuggets game where Anthony Davis was hurt. And I got to say, Russell Westbrook has not played bad coming off the bench.
He looks good. Like off the bench, Russell.
Russ been playing fantastic.
Like, I feel like he's been playing good. Like, it's just fitting LeBron and Russ in the same lineup is just tough. Like no matter how you slice the cake, it's just tough because both guys want to be primary ball handlers, and to at least give Russ the opportunity to be able to run with the second unit and be able to get guys involved and also try to attempt to score is a much better idea of fitting him in compared to just trying to shoehorn him next to LeBron when they both want to be primary ball handlers. But I have to make the comment, LeBron James does not look good this year. I don't care what the numbers show me. The eye test tells me enough. LeBron James has not looked good whatsoever. Defensively, I feel like he's been terrible. Offensively, he's just been it feels like we're so accustomed to LeBron's greatness that now we just tend to just look at the numbers. But from an eye test standpoint, LeBron has not looked good at all. I feel like defensively he hasn't been good. Offensively, he's just been, the ball sticks too much with LeBron. And that's a big issue with trying to fit him and Russ. LeBron holds onto the ball a lot. That sometimes it results in him taking a late step back three or just driving in. And then maybe there's a game where he was missing 4 or 5 layups at the rim. And it's just this team right now, I feel like it's still not headed to a good direction. You have to trade Russ. I get putting him at the 6-man is going to remedy the situation a bit in terms of fitting him in. But if you really want to take out or squeeze out the last few prime years of LeBron James, you need to trade Russell Westbrook. And that's the only option for the Lakers. So,
yeah, as much as Russ been hooping this last couple of games, man, at the end, it's when we in the clutch situation, you have Braun and you have Westbrook in the game at the same time, and then those situations come up, and it's it's not going to work. I mean, you're not using Westbrook, and then LeBron's over here holding the ball 18, 19 seconds of the clock.
You're just going to have to give it to Matt Ryan, man.
Yeah, at some point, hey, throw to the corner with 1 second left. Matt Ryan's going to host up a 3. But, yeah, the last 3-4 games, we look kind of better. But at the same time, Bron does look like he lost a step this year, especially yesterday watching the Utah game. Him attacking the basket a lot. He couldn't get through Lauri Markkanen. He was meeting a wall every single time he went to the basket. And I feel like 3-4 years ago, LeBron just decimate the guy. It wouldn't be fair in the paint. But right now we're seeing him lose a little step. I don't know, man. It's looking rough. It's looking rough. So feel like we're gonna trade Westbrook sooner or later in the future. Stock's kind of going up. People are like, oh, Russ is still that type of player coming off the bench. He can still hoop. He can still run the offense. So we'll see what we get for him. But yeah, it's tough.
There's a little silver lining in this though. The Lakers have like I think a top 2 or top 3 defense. So
Defense
I mean,
4 years is just we've been playing great. But
overall as a unit, and of course that's a problem. Like Anthony Davis is in the. If his record wasn't bad, he'd be in the running for defensive player of the year. He'd be the number 1 player in my opinion, and then Giannis right after him. But of course the record doesn't help him. But AD's been the best player for the Lakers, no question in my mind. So
I don't know. I still got questions about his offense.
I mean, AD right now is averaging 23 and 11. Of course,
I mean, I need 28. I need 28 or 29.
No, you're not gonna. There's no way you're gonna get an AD to average 28, 29 on a team with LeBron James. There's just no way.
LeBron ain't doing. Hey, LeBron not doing that this year though, man. AD got to take that. You feel me?
Yeah, but LeBron. Yeah, but you gotta understand though. LeBron's still taking those shots. It's not like
LeBron's still taking those shots. But
LeBron's not shooting. He's just standing there on the court. AD's by far been your guys' best player. But I gotta give credit to Russell Westbrook, because of course, we would have never thought in a million years a guy like Russell Westbrook would come off the bench, no matter how bad he's looked on any franchise. Russell Westbrook's always going to be a starter somewhere. But for him to be a true professional, to help this team and come off the bench and play very, very well, I'm happy for him, of course. But I think it's just weird because Laker fans, their scapegoat was Russell Westbrook. And now that LeBron James is playing terrible and Russell Westbrook's coming off the bench, Laker fans were cool with that, with Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. And now LeBron's playing bad, but we don't necessarily hear anything about LeBron playing bad. It's more so just the whole team not being good enough to get wins. So I don't necessarily like that aspect of it, because now that Russell Westbrook's playing well and you don't have a scapegoat, Laker fans don't want to put all the blame on LeBron James, the guy that's supposed to be leading your franchise this late into his career. The guy that got you a world championship. So that part I don't like about it. All eyes being on Russ for a little bit, and now that the eyes are on LeBron, it's crickets. Nobody's really saying too much about it. Now they're bringing up excuses as to him playing sick these past couple of games and stuff like that.
Year 20 excuse.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, LeBron James is supposed to bring it every night. He's supposed to be giving you 28, 7, and 7 on every night. And maybe even more some nights, especially when you have Anthony Davis playing this well, and you got the guy that was holding back your team to come off the bench. So I think it was a great move by Darwin Ham to make that executive decision to bring Russell Westbrook off the bench. So I think that the Lakers, they're sitting here at 2-6 right now. They're still a team that's gonna struggle and not make the playoffs. But you got to think about it like this: the Pelicans have their pick for this upcoming draft. So the Lakers, I don't know, man. You guys are giving the Pelicans a lottery pick with the way you guys are
right now. It's a lottery pick for them, and they're gonna come up big time. They're gonna come up big.
A Pelicans team that already have CJ McCollum, they already have Brandon Ingram, they already have Zion Williamson, and now you're giving them another lottery pick where they can bring in a young guy that they can develop. And like the development process doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be fast at all, because you already have guys there. So you can just slowly bring on the young guy and then make him work his way up into the lineup and get his minutes up. So I think the Pelicans are sitting back right now, smiling, knowing that the Lakers are struggling, and they ended up winning that trade between the two.
That's true, man.
Well, let's go ahead and get into. I know we talked about it briefly to start things off. But let's go ahead and get into this Kawhi Leonard load management issue, because this doesn't sit right with me. We bash Anthony Davis and we call him street clothes and stuff like that. And
a day to day,
a day to day. But for Kawhi Leonard, there's nothing. It's just another situation with Kawhi Leonard. Nobody talks about it. Him not being available, and that's the best ability to have in the league, availability. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, if this continues like a month from now, like where we're seeing like Kawhi Leonard unable to string even together a couple of games, or even like a load management in back-to-backs, that's normal. We understand that. Or like on a road trip, like not letting your player go out, resting him. That's understandable. But like for him not to even be like stringing together any sort of games, it's a bit worrying. Maybe like swelling has come up, or like I've heard rumors that he actually has a degenerative knee issue. There's a lot of just rumors flying around about Kawhi Leonard, and of course, organizations are gonna try to keep everything under wraps. But I'm not gonna like think about this too hard. I feel like it's just we're gonna have to wait and see. It's gonna be wait and see an approach regarding his health and how big of an issue this is if they continue to load manage like a month in, right? Because at some point you need to be able to bring him back and let him actually just get back around into form and start actually getting some minutes under his legs. But if this continues like a month in, then it's a big issue for the Clippers. But I'm not gonna think about this too hard, to be honest.
For me, I believe I really believe it's a underlying knee issue that he has. I feel like the rumors that saying that it's something wrong with his knee's messed up and everything. I really believe so that his knee's actually done for. So him missing a lot of games early on in the season, yeah, but we'll see in the month. And if it's continuing on, he takes 2 to 3 games off, 3-4 games off a week or a month in the month. It's something wrong big time with his knee. So we'll see. But it's crazy how nobody speaks up about him missing more games than AD the last 2.5 years, you know? And it's like you said, crickets on the other side because it's Kawhi, you know? It's a nice guy. He's quiet. He doesn't say anything to the media. Of course, we get that, but
I mean, in fairness, bro, like every play you think Anthony Davis is gonna like die or something. Like,
I ain't
let's
gonna
be
lie.
honest. Like
He go for an alley-oop, he get a dunk, he grab
like
a
he's grabbing his back. Like
ankle,
if
knee.
Anthony Davis falls, like you think it's over for like every Lakers fan like just holds their breath. Like they think it's done. Like let's
Hey, I be worried sometimes, bro. Whenever he hits the ground, it's like, hey, he coming up with some type of injury right now. Just watch, but yeah, Kawhi for me, man, that knee injury for me, I feel like it's a big injury that he had. So
I think this is definitely going to hold back the Clippers, and I think Abby's underestimating the situation right now and not trying to bring a lot of light to it. But this is a serious problem because ACL rehabs, of course, as of late, before a couple years, like 5-10 years, 5-10 years ago, people, if they suffered an ACL injury, pretty much your career was done. But now with the new doctors and new rehab processes and stuff like that, you can come back a lot better, like I said, from an ACL injury. But for Kawhi Leonard to not even play, it's not even back to backs. It could just be a Tuesday night at home game for them, and he's not suiting up. That's a very, very big question mark as to the whole rehab process. Like, what went wrong for Kawhi Leonard? Because we didn't hear anything in the offseason. He sat out the entire year where his team missed the playoffs. So you had all that time to get well and rehab and get stronger, faster, and get back to your old self. And of course, nobody expected Kawhi Leonard to come into the season and average what he was averaging, like he never got hurt before. But for him, we expected him to at least play a lot of games, a handful of games. Nobody expected him to play back to backs, but at least to show up, and of course, easing him into the team. Whether it was coming off the bench, he came off the bench in the very first game to start off the year versus the Lakers, and we saw 15 minutes out of him. And then, of course, you work your way up for the minutes. But for him to be sitting out all these games and for him to not even go on the road trip with the team, this is definitely going to hold back the Clippers alongside their current play right now with guys like Reggie Jackson not playing well. So I think we're not necessarily bringing a lot of light to the situation. And we're not necessarily talking about it as crazy simply because it's Kawhi Leonard. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see where he's at a month from now. But a team I do want to talk about, Atlanta Hawks. They're one of the few teams that made a blockbuster move for a guy like DeJounte Murray. And I didn't necessarily question their fit. I just assumed that Trae Young would have to be in a different role, coming more off ball and on a Steph Curry type beat. But I don't know, man. These guys look really, really good, and it's not really a problem for them as to who's going to be the primary ball handler.
Yeah, I think they look good, but there is one thing that I do want to point out. The whole claim about DeJounte Murray helping Trae on defense is actually just hilarious. Trae is still a cone. Like, this guy's the worst defender in the league, and that's not even an understatement. He's just awful defensively. Like, I cannot watch a Hawks game like Trae Young on defense. I just cannot watch Trae Young on defense. It's just he cannot go over screens at all. Like, he can't beat his screens. He's like it's just a lot of it is team defense. Like he's not engaged defensively, right? And of course, that's a combination of just wanting to play defense and then also his physical like capabilities. Like obviously, this guy's like 5'11", 195, 185 at the most. He's just not built to play defense, but at the same time, like I feel like defensively, if your number one guy like is that terrible, like you can't win a ring. Like I don't think Trae Young can be a guy that you can win a ring with if he sticks with this type of defense. You're not going to go far in the playoffs because you're going to get hunted, and we saw that even with the Warriors with Luka, to some extent they were putting him in a lot of sets, just trying to tire him out, get him involved in actions, and then make him uncomfortable defensively. And if Trae Young like and Luka's 6'7", 6'8", he's a big wing. Compare that to Trae Young, who's 5'11", 185, who gets hunted on defense and just gets posted up by bigger guards, just can't go over screens, can't do anything defensively. Like I'm a bit lower on the Hawks than I was initially when this trade happened. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But like their fit together is nice offensively. I like what DeJounte Murray brings to this team, but I think they're overrated, man. I don't rate them that much.
Sin at 6-3. We're gonna say they're overrated.
Yeah, I don't believe it's 6-3.
Why not?
Like no, I don't think they're beating good teams like that. Like I don't think they're beating good teams like that.
They just beat the Pelicans right now. Pelicans not a good team.
I mean, Brandon Ingram's coming back off from injury, I believe.
Are you gonna use the injury excuse?
Like these guys, like Trae
No.
Young is just such a cone. Like I don't respect, like I don't respect guys that like at least don't have some sort of engagement on defense. Like this guy's just a terrible defender, and I'm gonna show you guys the footage, man. This like, it's scary when I was watching this stuff. This guy's just a cone. Like he's just a cone. He just stands there.
What he lacks on defense, he makes up for on offense.
Nah, I don't believe that. Like even guys like Steph Curry, right? Like Steph Curry, of course, he's 6'3". We know Steph Curry is like amazing core, but he's a great team defender. John Morant, he's improved slightly on defense, but at least he has physical capabilities to play defense. Luka Doncic, he's a bigger wing, so he has a bit better chance of playing defense. That I feel like he's a bit been better on that end. Then we come to Trae Young, 5'11", 185, can't get over screens, can't help on defense, can't block shots, can't steal. Like come on, man. Like your number one player cannot be a cone. I really believe that.
I think the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, they've done a good enough job as to trying to hide it, but at the same time, you do make very fair points. Simply because at least for those guys you mentioned, the effort is there. Guys are trying to play defense. They're trying to do the best they can. For Trae Young, I just don't see that on night to night, on a daily basis, night to night. But defense aside, just speaking on the fit between these two guys, I think. I mean, I was watching the next game the other night where Trae Young got hurt and DeJounte Murray stepped in. I think he dropped 30 something on them, and Trae Young he was able to come back from the eye injury that he got mid game. And those two guys are working very well off each other. And I thought they were gonna have any fit issues compared to the two in Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. But these guys, man, in terms of fit and the roster that they got around them and the pieces they got. I think they're a team that could definitely solidify a playoff spot because the last couple of years they've been fighting for a playing spot, and right now, of course, it's very early on in the season. It's only a couple weeks in, but right now they're sitting at 6-3. They just got to win against a very good New Orleans Pelicans team. So this team, the Atlanta Hawks, very surprised. I wouldn't necessarily say a surprise because this is kind of what I was expecting, but. Defensively, come playoff time, yeah, I understand. Like Trae Young's definitely gonna get hunted, but it's not the playoffs just yet.
I don't know, bro. Like if your number one player is just a cone, like that's a problem. Like that's a big issue, and people act like okay, offensively, if you're great and all, like you can make up for it. That just doesn't work like that. Like what player has won a ring right as a number one option being that bad defensively? I can't think of it. Like I cannot think of a player that's been that bad defensively. Like Steph was a great team defender, and even like on the ball, Steph is not bad. Like he's not a bad defender. He's decent compared to these guys. Like Trae is just a cone. Like he just stands. There's no difference between him moving and him standing. So with your number one option playing like that, I don't think you can go that far in the playoffs. But we're gonna have to wait and see.
They did go far in the playoffs with him. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals with him.
They did.
But I mean that run. Who did they play? They played the Knicks.
The Sixers.
They played the Sixers.
They played
the Bucks. I mean, the Sixers, if one guy had shown up, maybe something different would have happened. But if one guy decided to take a
I
layup over
agree.
Trae Young,
I agree with the defensive part, man. Once you lose him on defense, and he's cooked on defense, but once you shut him down on offense, it's like there's nothing on the court for him, you know? Like, well, what's the reason of him playing? So we seen that against Miami last year. They cooked them. They picked them apart on offense and defensively.
like both ends of the floor, like that was like I honestly can legitimately say this. That was the worst series by an all NBA player of all time. Like for an all NBA level player, that was the worst series ever. That's how bad Trae Young was. I think he had more turnovers than threes made. That's how crazy it was. Like the guy was not good at all. So I mean, I like Trae Young. I rate Trae Young, but like for him to be that bad on defense, I just can't respect it, man.
I just feel like it's overall so far a couple of weeks into this NBA season. The East, of course, we have the Milwaukee Bucks still undefeated, sitting at 8-0. The Boston Celtics are still there, sitting at 6-3. But all the teams we thought were going to be, at least top five. The Brooklyn Nets sitting here at 4-6, sitting here. The Miami Heat sitting at 4-6.
Yeah, I have Miami at 7. Man, relax.
Sixers sitting here at 4-6. I mean, now you weren't high on the Miami Heat, but I didn't expect the Miami Heat to be sitting here at 4-6. I haven't watched necessarily a lot of Miami Heat games outside of the two Warrior games that they played in Boston early on in the year. But I don't necessarily know what's going on with your team, Abdi.
We have no size. That is legitimate. Like the reason why. Well, like we had Gabe Vincent guarding Miles Turner in the clutch, man. Like this last game that we played against the Pacers, we have 6'4" Caleb Martin as our starting power forward. I don't know what Pat Riley is doing. Like we have no size whatsoever. I think. Did you watch the first game? Yeah, the Warriors and the Miami Heat.
I did.
You see how we're struggling with the rebounds in the fourth quarter.
I did.
It just felt like
Draymond
got in. Kevon Looney jumped in for a rebound. Wiggins would jump in for a rebound. We just could not grab boards. And that's just been, I think we're like 26th, 27th in rebounding. In points, we're not getting much production. Just the team just stinks because we don't have size whatsoever. And Jimmy Butler.
Your second superstar in Bam.
Bam's been all right. Like he's been 18 and 11. I can't like defensively, this guy just saves us. Defensively,
Kyle Lowry too, bro.
Kyle Lowry, we got to send him to Donda Academy, man. Like we can't keep playing.
He's getting paid to play and show up and give you guys.
Like our backup point guard is better than Kyle Lowry. Like we got to send. And this team right now, like if we don't make a move at the trade deadline or something, like something has to give because we cannot continue to play with a lack of size. A 6'4" power forward is just. That's not it. And Bam is like covering up all. I think Bam has a third most. Before the slated games a couple of days ago, Bam had like the third most minutes played after Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, and that's just he's covering up so much for this team. And if he were to ever pick up an injury, the Miami Heat would be one of the worst teams in the league, and I really mean that. So we need to somehow get some size on this team. I don't care who it is, PJ Washington, someone, Miles Turner. We got to make a move, man. So is what it is.
I know we'll talk about Michael Thomas in our next episode, but when we talk about a guy like Michael Thomas and who we can compare him to in the NBA, I think we got to bring up a guy like Victor Oladipo. Where has he been this entire season? Like he's hurt.
He's hurt.
Like he's dealing with left knee tendonitis. Hasn't played a single game this year. I mean, what was the point in bringing a guy like him back, knowing his injury history?
I mean, I guess to be a contributor off the bench, but like. We didn't expect this tendonitis issue to flare up. So coming into the season, we thought he was just going to come in. But in this preseason, he didn't look good at all. I don't know if that's because of the knee issue, but just didn't look explosive. Didn't have a first step compared to like the flashes of brilliance he had like in the playoffs against the Boston Celtics, offensively and defensively. But like the guard play is just not the issue right now. It's just a lack of size. We just like Bam is legit the only guy above 6'7" on this team from the starters. So I don't know what else this team can do except bring size in. We get killed on the glass against every single team. So
I think this Miami Heat team should definitely make a move for Kevin Durant with whatever draft capital you guys got.
I don't know if we got I think we lost that draft capital getting Kyle Lowry, man.
I don't know how it's gonna work out.
They sent draft picks for Kyle Lowry, brother. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We're gonna have to piece together Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero
for a guy like Kevin Durant.
Like I feel like the team that can make like the best move for KD right now is probably Portland, in my opinion. I think Portland has the pieces to make something work for Kevin Durant. And really and truly, they're one of the teams that we should have mentioned in our biggest surprises. That team is just a wing away from, I think, going to the finals. Like they're a legit wing away because they have a lot of good guard play. They have, of course, Damian Lillard, we know him, and then Anthony Simons just was an upgrade on CJ. They have Shaden Sharp, they have Josh Hart, they have Jeremy Grant. They have a lot of good players. Justice Winslow has been great for them. They're just legit a wing away, and I feel like if they can get someone like Katie, man, that's scary. That's very scary.
Yeah, they're a team sitting at the number one in the Western Conference, which is very, very surprising because we all had this team being at least a playing team, somewhere between 8, 7, and 10. But they're sitting here at 6-2, tied with the Phoenix Suns, who they just got a win against last night. Jeremy Grant game
He
winner.
traveled.
Yeah.
Traveled, man.
These NBA refs, man. I don't know what they're on this up for this season so far. We've seen a lot of carry calls and now missed travel calls. And I think against the Lakers, Pelicans Lakers game, Zion Williamson made a nice pass to CJ McCollum in the paint, but he stepped all the way out on the baseline. These refs, man, they've been pretty much terrible. But
his whole foot was outside.
These refs, man, they're just missing some big calls. But the Phoenix Suns, man, we had this team falling off the face of the earth, slowly but surely, of course, throughout the season. But now they're sitting here right now, top 2 behind the Portland Trailblazers at 6-2. I think these guys, they're not looking to go away.
They just lost a key piece, Cam
Johnson, that's a big one. He always picks up an injury though. It's crazy. Like this guy's always picking up. No, really.
I'm pretty sure he torn ACL or torn MCL.
I don't think he's out for the year. No way.
Not for the year. He suffered a torn meniscus, but now they just don't know how to go about the process because when you tear your meniscus, you can either come back in like 6 weeks, or you can just come back in 2 to 6 months if you take the surgery. So they haven't necessarily picked the route as to which one they want to pick for him, but
that's tough. Even in a contract year as well, that's tough.
Yeah, losing him. He was their starter for this entire season so far.
He was hooping while
He was hooping
while Aiden was out for a minute. Aiden missed like 4 or 5 games, and that stretch, Cam Johnson was hooping.
He looked good.
They expect we thought of them.
I thought there would just be like, of course, the CP3 fall off and the issues with the roster with like
CP3 mid-season though is like, him season form. He's gonna hoop during season, but his woes come during the playoffs. But season they look.
But it's just been a combination of course, Devin Booker and their role players stepping up like Cam Johnson, and just CP3. Of course, he's not gonna be what CP3 was, but if you can just give him even 10 and 11 or 14 and 9, that's enough for them. So I mean they look good.
CP3 fall off is definitely coming because he's only averaging 10 points and 11 assists. So
yeah,
at this late in his career, of course, he's not going to be the scorer that we once knew him to be. He was at least a better scorer than what he is portraying now, at least 15, 16 points a game alongside the double-digit assists. But this Phoenix Suns team, I wouldn't necessarily say they're surprising me because there's a lot of other better surprises for this season so far. But they're right there. The Portland Trailblazers are right there. And then a team that's just kind of I wouldn't necessarily say flying under the radar, but thank God I haven't heard much from them. But the Memphis Grizzlies, man, they're sitting right now at 6-3, and like in the Western Conference, that's looking very, very wide open. Where you have the reigning champs at 3-7, and the Clippers haven't really shown anything, and the Denver Nuggets are sitting at 6-3 right now. The Pelicans are at 5-4. The Memphis Grizzlies were a team that lost Jaren Jackson. They're not looking too bad.
Desmond Bane. Are you ready to say he's better than Klay Thompson?
Bro, people disrespect Desmond Bane.
Not yet.
Like, Desmond Bane's a hooper.
People hold on to Klay Thompson from 2017. Like it's in the past memory. He's not that same old Klay anymore, man. Desmond Bane been hooping this whole year.
Desmond Bane's crazy, man.
I'm not gonna go as far as to say Desmond Bane is a better basketball player than Klay Thompson.
Come on, man.
It's a bit too early to say that. But just tying that into the Warriors struggles, I feel like Klay Thompson not performing well does definitely play a part into their struggles right now, simply because he's taking away minutes from Jordan Poole. And every time that Klay Thompson doesn't play, Jordan Poole's always stepping up into the starting position. He's always stepping into that role and excelling in that role. There was a game in Detroit where Klay Thompson missed. It was because of a back-to-back, and Jordan Poole dropped 30 points. So every time Jordan Poole gets the opportunity to start, he's he's showcasing his talents alongside a guy like Steph Curry. So when Jordan Poole's in that lineup, it's not necessarily an offensive issue. It's more so defensively they're not, locking in and getting the rotations correct. But when you add Klay Thompson into that, where Klay Thompson, the problem I have with Klay Thompson right now is his shot chucking and his shot selection. I just don't understand it. Against the Miami Heat in a very, very close game, the corner three where there was like maybe 18, 19 seconds left on the shot clock.
That was
that's a ridiculous shot. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And then there was another game at home. I forgot who they were playing, but I think it was the Denver Nuggets on primetime Friday night. They were fighting back into the game. They were down by 3 at one point, and Klay Thompson literally 2 steps in from half court from the logo, from the Warriors logo, pulls up, and it's a complete brick. So I just don't understand his shot selection, and like his confidence is there, and I respect it. His confidence is always, you want a guy like Klay Thompson to have confidence to shoot the ball because he's one of the best shooters in this league. But at least just don't force shots just because you have a reputation of, okay, I can shoot the ball. I'm one of the best shooters in the league, and every shot that I shoot is gonna go in. Like he's like playing outside of the system, which is crazy to say because the Warriors system, we all know it's pass and cut. But Klay Thompson, man, I'm not ready to start the discussions on him just yet because like it's way too early on into the season. But Desmond Bane, I do got to give him credit. He is playing at a very, very high level right now. He's averaging about 24 points alongside John Morant, who's averaging 28 plus points per game. So the discussions will start soon if his current play keeps up. But I'm not gonna go right now on record and say Desmond Bane is better than Klay Thompson. That's
crazy.
That's
you're holding on, but it's all good. You're holding on.
Nah, there's just no way. But this Memphis Grizzlies team, man, with Jaren Jackson being out there, and they're also missing another key guy off their bench, Zaire Williams, who can shoot the ball a little bit. He's a lengthy guy. He's dealing with a knee injury. But this team, man, they're I just honestly just don't know how they do it. Simply because
they find like good little pieces. The guy Aldama is a nice pickup that they had. It's like a 6'9".
Santi Aldama, their power forward. Like I just don't understand. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're good with developing young guys, but this team right now sitting with a record of 6-3. They're right there, as being a top team in the Western Conference. With the Western Conference is being so wide open, but let's get into our early season MVP picks. I know to start off the year we made our predictions, and I had Luka Doncic, and you guys had other guys, but I don't know, man. I don't honestly know who I can give this award to right now. If the season ended today, who would you give the MVP award to?
It would be a coin toss between two guys. It would either be Luka Doncic or Giannis for me. Like I would have to split between one of these two because I feel like, of course, like Giannis is just so consistently good in the regular season that we kind of just overlook him sometimes. But the Bucks have been amazing. They've been absolutely ridiculous this season. And of course, Giannis is at the forefront of that. And then on the other hand, you have Luka Jordan. This guy is just ridiculous, man. The guy, like, there's no other words to describe how good this guy is offensively. Just an absolute bucket. Like, it's and not even just that. Like, overall, as an offensive player, he might be like, I'm not even a might. He is the best offensive player in the NBA. Like, no question in my mind. Just being from a standpoint of being able to score and then be able to play make for other guys. There's a reason why the Mavs had the number one offense in the NBA because of him. He's able to generate looks for these guys and get his own. And I feel like toe to toe, when this guy matches up with any other star, his play goes up. Like we saw him against the Nets. He did not fold against Kyrie and KD. And that's the type of player that he is. So, like, if I really had to split hairs, I would go Luka Doncic.
It's tough. I feel like it is between Giannis and Luka, but the way Giannis been playing on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, they're 8-0, undefeated, and they're just rolling through teams. They're playing fantastic. And this was without Middleton, too. So he's missing his Robin, and he's hooping. He's very hooping. So
these guys haven't missed a beat, man.
They haven't missed a beat. They're rolling right now. They're rolling. ESPN the other day was like, yeah, we got to throw Brook Lopez into the best two-way conversation.
Brook Lopez has been crazy. Yo,
it's been crazy, but to say Brook Lopez and two-way conversation, one of the best two-way players, You gotta cut the stream there.
Defensively though, he has been amazing, and even offensively.
Yeah, but for me, Luca, man, the guy treats the game like it's 2K for him, man. The way the moves he pulls off, everything, the passing, the dribbling, the step back, fadeaway, jump shots. And offensively, he got the full package, and 100% I agree with you. Best offensive player in the league right now. And I feel like it's not even close. It's not even close. Like he's this close to averaging a 30-point triple double right now, and we ain't seen that in a minute. So I'm gonna rock with Giannis for MVP, but Luca's definitely hooping.
Who'd you guys have to start the year though? Who'd you guys pick? It wasn't Luca.
I picked Giannis if I was.
I might have. I want to say I either picked Giannis or Embiid.
Yeah, I picked Giannis. So
I want to say I went with Giannis, and then my dark horse or like my other candidate, if I had to pick one, was Embiid.
Okay, I mean, I had Luka Doncic winning this, but he's an incredible basketball player, man. Like, you take away the scoring. Of course, I was watching the game last night against the Toronto Raptors, and they were playing zone.
They were doubling him, right?
Yeah, they were double teaming him, and like the passes he was making, like to open shooters, like it's just ridiculous. It's like behind the head, and like it's no looks. Like you wouldn't expect. Like you can't see it. If you play point guard right now at the gym, you wouldn't be able to make a pass like that. Like you wouldn't expect it. But he's making those type of passes, and he's really playing at an MVP level right now. But aside from Luka, man, this Milwaukee Bucks team, they're for sure like the clear cut the best team in the NBA right now in the season. That's very, very early, but at the same time, we haven't seen great play from any of these championship contending teams all around in both conferences. And this is without their guy Chris Middleton. I feel like now that Chris Middleton, he'll come back eventually, but with him being out right now, and all these other role players excelling right now, and they're figuring it out like how to play with Giannis and play it as a team without Chris Middleton. It's only going to help this team moving forward in the playoffs, because last year when Chris Middleton got hurt against the Chicago Bulls, it's kind of hard to figure out how to play together on a team where like you didn't play without Middleton all year. So putting all these guys together at the same time in the playoffs is going to be hard to figure it out. It was just pretty much Giannis going 1-on-5 and trying to get some key contributions from other guys like Bobby Portis and Wesley Matthews, Grayson Allen, and whatnot. But now that they don't have Chris Middleton and all these role players are kind of stepping into a little bigger role, it's only going to help this team out a lot more, because once you throw in Chris Middleton, now these guys know how to work. Now that they can throw different rotations at you, and the pressure is going to be off these guys for a little while now that Chris Middleton's back. But let's say he gets injured somewhere down the stretch, God forbid, and now you're going right back into a situation where, okay, we play without this guy. So now we know the Mike Budenholzer, he knows the rotations. He knows what guys are going to do on the court, and he's going to put them in a good situation for them to, win games. So this Milwaukee Bucks team, they're legit like the only team out of the championship contending teams list that's really playing like true championship contenders. And I'm surprised. I'm just more disappointed in all the other teams we have on our list. We have teams like the Warriors, the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in them, because they're sitting right now at 6-3, but at the same time, like they've lost some pretty interesting games to the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers twice. So of course they lost their head coach Ime Udoka, and he might end up walking to Brooklyn. So at the end of the day, out of all the teams that's supposed to be competing for that championship trophy right now, the Milwaukee Bucks are definitely not the team to beat, and they didn't even win a championship last year, which is crazy to say. But I know a couple weeks ago we did talk about a few rookies, and it was Rookie of the Year award Paulo and Benedict Mathurin, and but I don't know, man. I think the Orlando Magic sit at a record with 2-8 right now in the Eastern Conference, one of the worst teams in the league. But I don't know. You might as well give Paulo the Rookie of the Year award right now. There's pretty much no reason to wait. He just dropped I believe it was 33 and 16 game in a loss to the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento, I mean, they haven't been winning much either, but De'Aaron Fox's play as well. I think we do have to highlight that.
Yeah, man, Paulo just looks polished. Like a lot of people, when they were describing his game coming out, they talked about how he was just like physically like imposing compared to like guys at his position. And like for a rookie to come in right into this league, it's hard to be that physically imposing, because now you're playing against a grown men. You weren't playing against college people, like other college guys. Now you're playing against grown men, and he's making those grown men look like little kids. That's how Paulo's been playing. It's just like Draymond spoke about it. This guy's just like he just comes in with a sky high confidence, and that's like his Seattle like roots. That's how he came in, and he just wants to get buckets. That's all he's about. And I feel like a lot of the question marks against him, like regarding his defensive effort and stuff, like I feel like he's putting that to rest. Not saying he's like been clamping guys, been locked on anything, but I feel like defensively as well, he's been decent on that side. And offensively, just this Orlando Magic team, they have a lot of stuff good going on with them. Franz Wagner, he looked amazing today as well. Bull, we don't. The guy looks like a freak. That's literally Victor Wembanyama in another universe. So he looks good, but Paolo, just for this guy to come in and just to be able to put up these stat lines like 33 and 16 for rookies, just like for a regular NBA player, that's crazy. For a rookie, that's even crazier. And he just looks like the most polished rookie we've seen in a while. Maybe the best rookie since Zion, I guess. I'd want to say so. I mean, that guy looks
feel
great.
like his game is more polished than Zion's, especially even.
Yeah, but Zion was just like in the minutes that Zion, the minutes that Zion were getting, he was just like a monster. The minutes that Zion was getting his rookie year, that was just an animal. So Paulo's just different, man.
Zion is just a dominant force, but Paulo, he got all game, like from outside to the inside. He can dribble, he can play defense, he can rebound. It's crazy. I feel like we haven't seen this since Bron, to be honest. Like all around game like this, he's hooping stuff. But Benedict Mathurin, Keegan Murray, these other guys, Jaden Ivey, they're all putting in work too. But yeah, Paulo.
I feel like Benedict is gonna really take off once they trade Buddy Hield.
Once they get rid of Buddy Hield and he gets into that starting spot, I feel like him and Hallie, that backcourt is gonna be nice. So, but him coming off the bench and playing like this is crazy, big time off the bench.
Yeah, Paulo, man, I'm at a loss of words. To start the year, I think he had, if I'm counting correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games, 20 plus points, and or at least over 5, 6 rebounds. So, this is, I wouldn't say I can't say I'm not gonna sit here and say I expected him to be this great coming into the season. Being on an Orlando Magic team that's not looking to win at all, but his talents, like this is the reason why I picked him to be Rookie of the Year, simply because he's physically gifted, he's talented. He was the most NBA ready coming out of the draft. And the one thing that I did highlight when I was making my prediction is his playmaking. I feel like he wasn't necessarily the greatest playmaker in college, but his playmaking right now on this Orlando Magic team is pretty damn near pretty good. I wouldn't go as far as to say great, but the Orlando Magic, their record is, it's 2-8, but at the same time, each and every night they're gonna fight. This, I feel like they're cooking something right now. I did want Paul to end up in Houston simply because there was a lot of talent over there, but Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green. At the same time, I think this might have been a blessing in disguise for him to be on Orlando Magic team where he's the best player. We can confidently go ahead and say that he's the best player on that team, and they've given him the keys already from day one. There's nobody else that has the keys to that franchise besides him. So
I like how this team's built though, man. Like they came out today, everybody was above 6'5" for the starting lineup. So
I want to see what this team looks like when Fultz comes back.
It's crazy.
Because they have Wagner plays a shooting guard.
It's
hilarious.
He's 6'10".
He's like 6'10".
It's crazy. Paulo 6'10". Bobo's
a small forward. Bobo's a power forward, and Wendell Carter is a center.
So they got a lengthy lineup. So, but at the same time, it's interesting to watch them because I watched a couple games and they kind of look fluid to them. They kind of like they're losing games by not too much points, but
I feel like their record doesn't really reflect how good they've been.
They're making. So
they've been competitive. So
yeah.
I gotta say, man, I thought the quality of basketball was gonna be at an all-time low this year, but so far for a couple weeks into the season, it hasn't been that way. It's been pretty good basketball being played. But before we close this episode out, I do want to talk about a guy that'll be in the league and he'll take the league by storm next year. I know we all saw that Victor Wembanyama clip where he ISO'd that guy, displayed his handles, and one-legged three-pointer. I mean, when this guy comes into the league, I'm scared for everybody else.
If the Pelicans get that first pick, I just
game over. Game over.
Game over. At this point, like Ingram, Zion, him, the team they built around with CJ McCollum, it's like 1 to 2 years they're finals already. They're gonna be there just like that. But it all depends on to the Lakers, man. So
this guy's just fake, man. He's just he's fake. He's not a real player. And
you go on my park, right? And they say, hey, you can have a free 99 character, build whatever you want. That's the type of player
This is a guy that you're gonna build.
You have fun.
Like he's just fake. He's not a real player. This guy, like, and the thing is, what this guy signifies, I feel like, is like he's the direction the NBA is headed towards. Like now, you see it with the Orlando Magic. You see even with the Toronto Raptors. Like you're gonna be seeing guys that are 6'8", 6'9". They're able to like handle the ball, and now you're gonna start seeing guys that are 6'11", 7 foot. Like even Chet Holmgren, to some extent, there's a reason why he went that high in the draft, because the Oklahoma City Thunder saw him as like being like a unicorn of a player, just his skill set, and he's legit like a worse version of Victor Wembanyama, so that's scary. And even Kristaps Porzingis, if you watched his rookie year, the guy like he looked great. You see players like Lauri Markkanen, and this guy Victor Wembanyama is a better version of all these guys, a way better version. He's just fake. So like he signifies where the NBA is headed in terms of its direction, and like he's gonna come in to the league and he's already better than a lot of dudes. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I went watching that clip where he ISO'd the guy, he pulled back, dribbled between his legs.
The guy was doing a James Harden size up at 7'4". That doesn't make any sense to me.
And a one-legged three-pointer to cap it off. Yeah, when it's gonna be scary hours when this guy steps foot in the league, because he's gonna be a problem from day one. And a lot of teams aren't necessarily gonna have answers for him, because how are you gonna stop a 7'4" guy with a handle like a point guard, who can shoot like a guard and work well on the inside, be a rim protector, and score in the paint at ease. So it's gonna be exciting to see him come into the league next year. I just don't know who's gonna get the #1 pick and who's gonna win that lottery for him. So whoever gets Victor Wembanyama it's like you're in the lottery for $1 million. So it could be the Pelicans, it could be a team like the Rockets, it could be any of these teams that, of course they're looking to tank. At the same time, the quality of basketball is still very, very good so far this season. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But any final words before we close things out, fellas?
Give me a power forward. That's all I gotta say.
Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, man, hurry up, come to LA.
I think you're asking for a bit too much, unless you're adding those 2027 and 2029 picks to that.
Those picks don't mean nothing to me, so toss them on.
I gotta say, man, what I've been seeing from my Chicago Bulls as of late, just makes me want Lonzo Ball to be out there on the court with them, because DeMar DeRozan's playing at a very, very high level. Zach LaVine needs to pick it up. We'll talk about him next week for sure. I do have some question marks about him, but of course, with that being said, we'll go ahead and close things out here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We really appreciate your love and support. We'd greatly appreciate it if you like, commented, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Media Podcast. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, all of our social media handles will be in the beginning of this video. And if you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, if you go to our Instagram page at New Media Podcast, you'll be able to navigate yourself to all of our social media handles there. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Be on the lookout for our next episode dropping on Tuesday when we talk about Week 9 of the NFL season. And we'll see you guys in the next one. So peace.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and LH now, that's overkill.